two identical BMWs, same day, same lot. One turbocharged, one naturally aspirated. 4 years and 200,000 miles later, only one of them was still cheap to own. And the reason why is something every used BMW buyer needs to hear before they sign anything. Let's start with what we're actually comparing here, because these two engines represent two completely different eras of BMW thinking. The naturally aspirated engine is the BMW N52, built from 2004 to 2015. It's a high-revving inline-six that makes its power the old-fashioned way, through displacement and airflow. No turbo, no forced induction, just a well-built motor doing things the way BMW did them for decades. The turbocharged engine is the B58, introduced in 2015. It's BMW's modern answer to tighter emissions rules and buyers wanting more power out of smaller engines. Same six-cylinder layout, but a completely different philosophy under the hood. BMW built the N52 to be light. The block itself is a magnesium-aluminum composite, with an aluminum core wrapped in a magnesium outer shell to keep coolant away from the magnesium, which reacts badly with water. It uses an open deck design and simple port fuel injection. Nothing complicated, just solid, straightforward engineering that a shop from any era could wrap their head around. The B58 takes the opposite approach. It's a closed deck, all aluminum block, built to handle real cylinder pressure, paired with high pressure direct injection, running as high as 350 bar in later versions, and a twin-scroll turbocharger mounted right onto the exhaust manifold. On paper, it's the stronger, more capable engine, putting out anywhere from 320 to 382 horsepower depending on the year, compared to the N52's 215 to 268. If this were just a horsepower contest, the B58 wins in a landslide. But 200,000 miles isn't a horsepower contest. It's a test of what breaks, how bad it breaks, and what it costs you to fix it. And that's where this story really starts. Now, both of these engines have tough bottom ends. Crankshafts, connecting rods, main bearings. None of that gives out under normal driving on either motor. So, if you're worried about the core of the engine grenading on you, don't be. The real story here is everything bolted onto that core, because that's where these two engines start telling two very different stories. Let's talk about cooling first, because this is where things get interesting fast. The N52 uses something BMW was proud of at the time, a beltless electric water pump. No belt spinning it, just an electric motor controlling coolant flow, independent of engine speed. Sounds great on paper, but the plastic impeller inside it and the electronics controlling it tend to fail somewhere between 60,000 and 90,000 miles. By the time an N52 crosses 200,000 miles, it's usually sitting on its third water pump. That sounds rough, but here's the silver lining. It's a well-known, well-documented failure that every independent shop has seen 100 times. Parts are affordable, the job isn't complicated, and there's no mystery involved. Before we get into the B58's cooling, if you want a more in-depth look into how your BMW or Mercedes can last 100,000, 200,000, or even 300,000 miles, these ebooks reveal the exact maintenance secrets and brand-specific strategies that every BMW or Mercedes owner should know. If you want to check them out, the link is down in the description below. The B58 does cooling differently and honestly, more ambitiously. Instead of a basic thermostat, it uses something called a heat management module, a rotary valve setup that manages coolant flow across different zones of the engine to keep the block warm for less friction, while keeping the cylinder head cooler to avoid knock-under boost. It's a clever system, but it's built out of plastic housings and internal seals that harden and crack with age. When that happens, you're not looking at a simple leak. You're looking at slow coolant loss that can turn into a bigger problem if it's ignored, and the part itself is more expensive and more involved to deal with than anything on the N52's cooling side. Speaking of coolant, the N52 has its own small annoyance in this department that's worth mentioning, and old-timers who've owned one know it well. There's a plastic coolant fitting connecting the thermostat hose to the cylinder head nicknamed the Mickey Mouse flange by mechanics because of its shape. That fitting gets brittle with age and eventually snaps, usually announcing itself with a coolant puddle in the driveway. It's a cheap part and an easy fix, but it's a good reminder that even the simpler engine has its share of plastic components that give up over time, just nowhere near as expensive to deal with as anything comparable on the B58. While we're clearing up N52 quirks, there's also a well-known noise on early cylinder heads built before November 2008 that's worth knowing about, so it doesn't scare you off a good used BMW. These heads have a casting flaw that causes an audible hydraulic lifter tick on cold starts. It sounds concerning the first time you hear it, but it's harmless and doesn't affect longevity at all. Just something to be aware of, rather than something to worry about. That difference in complexity carries right over into the next big issue, which is the oil filter housing. This is honestly where the two engines' personalities become crystal clear. On the N52, the oil filter housing gasket hardens over time and starts leaking oil. That oil drips right down onto the serpentine belt, and if it's ignored long enough, the belt can slip off, shred, and get pulled past the crankshaft seal into the oil pan, clogging the pickup tube and starving the engine of oil. That's a legitimate concern if you neglect it, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. Fixing it before it gets that far is about as simple as automotive repair gets. 3 bolts up top of the engine, roughly 2 hours of labor, and a gasket that costs next to nothing. One BMW forum member even shared that his dealer quoted him $965 for the job. The B58 has a similar part doing a similar job, but it's built entirely out of plastic, and it's buried underneath the intake manifold and the liquid-to-air charge cooler. When heat and pressure cause that plastic housing to crack, and it does crack on a lot of these engines, you're not looking at a simple gasket swap. The whole assembly has to come out, and because of where it sits, that job runs anywhere from 8 to 11 hours of labor. We're talking $2,000 to $3,500 for a repair that would have cost a few $100s on the older engine. And that's before you even factor in what it does if the crack causes oil and coolant to cross-contaminate internally. While we're on the subject of plastic parts giving BMW owners headaches, let's talk about the valve cover and the PCV system, because both engines have their version of this problem. On 2007 and newer N52 engines, BMW switched from a magnesium valve cover to a composite plastic one with an integrated crankcase ventilation system built in. That plastic cover warps and cracks with years of heat cycling, and the membrane inside eventually ruptures, which means the whole cover needs to be replaced. It's an annoying repair, but again, it's a known quantity, and the parts and labor stay reasonable. The B58 has its own version of this same story. The PCV diaphragm built into its plastic valve cover degrades under the constant pressure of turbo boost and crankcase vacuum, leading to high oil consumption and a whistling noise that gets worse over time. Same basic failure, but the turbo adds extra stress that the naturally aspirated engine simply never has to deal with. Now here's a piece of this puzzle that a lot of guys don't think about until it's already cost them money, and that's carbon buildup on the intake valves. This one comes down to how each engine delivers fuel. The N52 uses old-school port fuel injection, spraying gasoline right over the intake valves every time it fires. That constant wash of fuel keeps the valves clean for the life of the engine, plain and simple. The B58, on the other hand, uses direct injection, spraying fuel straight into the combustion chamber instead of over the valves. Without that washing effect, oil vapor from the crankcase slowly bakes onto the back of those dry intake valves and hardens into carbon deposits. By 150,000 to 200,000 miles, that buildup can restrict airflow enough to cause rough idle and misfires under load, and the only real fix is having the intake cleaned with a walnut blasting service, something an N52 owner never has to think about. On top of that, the B58's high-pressure fuel system, running up to 350 bar in later technical update versions compared to 200 bar on the original Gen 1 motors, puts a lot more mechanical stress on the fuel pump and injectors over 200,000 miles than the N52's simple port injection setup ever does. If one of those injectors starts to wear, there's even a risk of fuel diluting the oil, which is a problem that simply doesn't exist on the older engine. Worth noting too, BMW didn't just leave the B58 alone after 2015. Later, technical update variants moved the turbochargers integration directly into the cylinder head on certain models, which actually helped with packaging and warm-up times. It's a smart refinement, but it doesn't change the fundamental trade-off we're talking about here. Forced induction still means more complexity, more heat, and more parts that can eventually wear out compared to a naturally aspirated design. Let's move to the timing chain, because this is a great example of how BMW's engineering priorities shifted over the years. On the N52, the timing chain sits right up front on the engine, easy to get to, and it's genuinely one of the most reliable parts of the whole motor. It's not unusual to see these chains go past 200,000 miles without ever needing attention. The B58 uses an updated, more durable chain and guide system compared to some earlier BMW turbo engines, and it holds up well mechanically. But BMW moved it to the rear of the engine, right up against the transmission, to keep the overall engine length shorter for packaging and crash safety reasons. That means if the chain, guides, or tensioner ever do need work down the road, the shop has to pull the engine or drop the transmission just to get back there. It's not a common failure, but when it happens, the labor bill reflects just how buried that part really is. All of this comes back to one core idea, which is heat, and how differently these two engines handle it. The N52 runs hot, sometimes up to 105 to 112 degrees Celsius under light load, but that heat spreads out evenly across the block and head. There's no turbo cooking one section harder than another, so the plastic components age at a steady, predictable rate. And because there's no turbo or intercooler plumbing in the way, replacing those parts when they finally wear out is straightforward. The B58 runs a smarter cooling strategy on paper, keeping the block warmer for efficiency while keeping the head cooler to prevent knock under boost. But the turbocharger sitting right on the exhaust manifold, combined with an intercooler built directly into the intake manifold, creates a concentrated pocket of heat right in the center of the engine, right where that plastic oil filter housing lives. That thermal expansion between the aluminum block and the plastic housing, combined with the constant heat cycling from towing, hard driving, or stop-and-go traffic, is a big reason that housing tends to crack sooner on the B58 than anything comparable does on the N52. Now let's talk dollars, because at the end of the day, that's what actually decides whether you keep a car or trade it in. Independent BMW shops and specialists have documented this over and over again, and the numbers are consistent. An oil filter housing gasket replacement on the N52 typically runs somewhere between $300 and $600. That same basic job on the B58, because of the labor involved and the design of the housing, runs between $2,000 and $3,500. Scheduled maintenance, your oil changes, filters, and routine service stays about the same cost on both engines. The entire difference in long-term ownership cost comes down to these unscheduled repairs, tied directly to the added complexity that comes with turbocharging. This really creates two completely different ownership experiences over 200,000 miles. The N52 gives you a string of smaller, low-cost repairs spread out over time: water pumps, gaskets, coolant flanges, all things a reasonably handy guy could tackle himself or have done affordably at any independent shop. The B58 gives you fewer overall failures, but when something does go wrong, it tends to be a bigger, more expensive job because of how tightly everything is packaged around that turbo and cooling system. So here's how it all shakes out. If the question is, which engine has the stronger core, better metallurgy, and the higher ceiling for surviving to 200,000 miles, Without any internal mechanical failure, the B58 wins that argument. Its closed deck block, forged internals, and updated timing components are genuinely impressive pieces of engineering. And with clean synthetic oil, the cylinder bores show minimal wear even at high mileage. But if the question is, which engine actually gets you to 200,000 miles without draining your wallet along the way, the N52 takes that title, no contest. It's simpler, it's more accessible, and every one of its failure points is well documented, affordable, and fixable with basic tools in a home garage if you're handy enough. An owner willing to do some regular maintenance can keep an N52 running strong well past 200,000 miles without ever facing a repair bill that makes them question owning the car. The B58's core will get there too, mechanically speaking, but the aging plastic components around it, the oil filter housing, the heat management module, the rear-mounted timing chain, can rack up repair costs between 120,000 and 200,000 miles that start to rival what the car is actually worth at that point. At the end of the day, this comes down to what kind of ownership you're looking for. The B58 is the stronger, more capable engine on paper, and if you want that turbocharged power and don't mind paying for it later, it's a great motor. But if you're the guy who wants to buy something, take care of it, and drive it into the ground without any surprises, the naturally aspirated N52 is the one that's proven time and time again that simple beats are complicated when the miles start stacking up. If you learned something today, stick around, because we've got plenty more of these engine breakdowns coming your way. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and if you like content like this, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.